In our headlines on this Friday, March 28th, here in South Korea. Overnight rain serves to assist efforts by firefighters to contain Korea's worst ever wildfires that have been centered in the southeastern part of the country, killing at least 28 people and damaging ancient property, including Buddhist temples. And pundits believe the Constitutional Court's ruling on the impeachment of President Yoon will take place next month. That is, before April 18th, which is the day when 2 of the 8 justices retire from the bench. Meanwhile, Russian leader Vladimir Putin speaks of cooperating with countries, including North Korea, towards ending its war in Ukraine, raising much speculation about the implications of these latest remarks. Rain has offered tangible relief to regions ravaged by the latest wildfires by advancing efforts to tame the rampant flames, which have been the worst on record for South Korea. Our Park Hyo-bin has the latest.
Last night's rainfall significantly helped firefighters contain the wildfires in Gyeongsang-buk-do province, bringing a crucial breakthrough in the week-long wildfire battle.
Last night's rain has improved visibility, and the lower temperatures are working in our favor. This gives us the best possible conditions for firefighting.
Around 3 p.m., the Korea Forest Service reported that the main fire in Yeongdeok-gun County, located in eastern part of Gyeongsang-buk-do province, has been fully contained. By midday on Friday, the overall containment rate across the region had reached 94%, a 32 percentage points increase from the previous afternoon. Also, the wildfire in Sancheong-gun County, Gyeongsangnam-do province, which started last Friday, was 93% contained as of midday. No additional casualties have been reported so far on Friday afternoon. As of this morning, the wildfire has killed at least 28 and injured 37 others. The disaster has displaced around 33,000 residents, with more than 8,000 still unable to return home.
I saw the flames approaching my house. Everything was glowing red. I grabbed what I could and ran. When I came back, it was all gone. The fire was still burning.
The wildfire marked as the largest in South Korea's history, affecting approximately 480 square kilometers, nearly 80% of Seoul's total land area. Nearly 3,500 structures were damaged. The governor of Gyeongsang-buk-do province said the goal is to extinguish the main fire on Friday, and once the main fire is controlled, measures to address the wildfire damage will be considered. Due to the severity of the damage, the government has designated affected areas as special disaster zones. This designation ensures that significant resources will be allocated for relief and recovery efforts. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
On the political front, while President Yoon fate hovers in limbo as the Constitutional Court has yet to share its verdict on his impeachment, opposition leader Lee Jae-myung's chances of mounting a campaign if an early election takes place have been bolstered. Our senior correspondent Oh Se-young explains.
Suspense remains over President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment case as the Constitutional Court deliberates for more than a month. As of Friday, 31 days have passed since Yoon's final trial hearing was held, marking a record in terms of the time taken by the court compared to previous presidential impeachment cases, which took at most 14 days. As the judicial bench typically gives advance notice of at least 2 working days before a ruling, the court is now expected to issue its decision in April before 2 justices retire mid-month. With ambiguity over the when and what the verdict will be, there's growing tension brewing in political circles as Yoon's impeachment would spark an early presidential election within 2 months. The opposition party is pushing for Yoon's swift removal, as their party leader Lee Jae-myung is currently the pollsters' favourite among presidential hopefuls. On Wednesday, Lee was acquitted in one of his 5 criminal trials, overturning a ruling by a lower court last year that handed Lee a 1-year sentence and a 2-year suspension from office for violating the election law. This cleared a major hurdle to gaining his party's full endorsement for the race. The ruling People Power Party had been hoping for the opposite result, leading to cries of foul against the justice system. There's now even greater pressure directed at the Constitutional Court. The opposition is calling for Yoon's immediate impeachment, while the ruling party is demanding his return to power, as in the case of Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, whose impeachment case was dismissed on Monday. Public rallies also continue outside and around the court. Recent polls indicate that 51% of voters want a change of government, while 37% wish to maintain the current administration. Those for and against impeachment also recorded around 58% and 37% respectively, underscoring how closely contested the political environment remains. The survey shows equal 36% support for the ruling and opposition parties, with the PPP gaining 3 percentage points compared to the previous week. As the court's ruling stretches on, expectations for Yoon's impeachment was down by 6 percentage points from last week, while those expecting his return hit 39%.
Amid prolonged uncertainty, one thing remains clear. This will not merely be a constitutional decision, but a ruling that inevitably brings significant political ramifications. Oh Si-young, Arirang News.
And in other news, medical students at some of Korea's top universities are looking to end their boycott of classes that had been fueled by government plans to raise medical school admission quotas. Now, according to a task force at Seoul National University on Thursday, medical students had been asked to register for classes by 5 p.m. on the same day, as over 65% voted against prolonging the boycott. Meanwhile, students at Yonsei University and Korea University have until today, that is Friday, to register for classes or face expulsion. It's been said over 80% had voiced intentions to return to classes. Separately, acting President Han Duck-soo sent a letter to protesting medical students urging their return. South Korea's Navy carried out a series of drills this week in light of a somber anniversary today. Our correspondent Kim Bo-kyung covers this year's West Sea Defense Day that honors the sacrifice of South Korean soldiers in the face of North Korean aggression in recent years.
Amidst the thin sea fog covering the West Sea, a simulated North Korean vessel crosses the northern limit line on the West Sea, moving southward. South Korean Navy ships and personnel are ordered to deploy in combat formation for training.
총원 전투 배치 훈련 둘 셋.
6 naval ships lined up one after another with the 3,600-ton frigate, the RKS Chungnam, at the front, fired guns targeting their simulated maritime target before maneuvering away in different directions. This naval maneuver training in the West Sea is to mark the 10th West Sea Defense Day, a day to remember those who lost their lives in a series of unprovoked attacks by the North near the northern limit line. The day, falling on the fourth Friday of March every year, pays tribute to the 55 fallen sailors and Marines from the Second Battle of Yeonpyeong in 2002, the sinking of RKS Cheonan, and the shelling of Yeonpyeongdo Island in 2010. In memorial of the fallen, the Navy conducted intensive maneuvering exercises for 3 days until Thursday, simultaneously on the East, West, and South Seas, with some of the exercises open to the press.
The Navy will engrave the spirit of victory shown by the 55 warriors who defended the West Sea in our hearts. And if the enemy provokes again, we will strike back forcefully and firmly protect our seas.
Since the military clashes with North Korea while defending the western maritime border, the South Korean Navy strengthened the combat power of its naval fleets, replacing outdated warships with new frigates equipped with advanced hybrid propulsion and sonar systems.
The ROKS Daejeon was built with our domestic defense technology, and it's especially a core frigate of the fleet with outstanding anti-submarine capabilities.
With the patriotic spirit of the fallen in mind, the Navy vows to firmly safeguard the waters, even today. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
And acting President Han Duck-soo has pledged an immediate and overwhelming response to any North Korean provocation. The pledge came at today's official ceremony to mark the 10th West Sea Defense Day. Referring to North Korea as the most regressive regime in the world, Han asserted that Pyongyang continues to threaten peace on the Korean peninsula and beyond. He also vowed unwavering support for South Korea's fallen heroes, injured service members, and bereaved family members. Russia's Vladimir Putin has spoken of cooperating with North Korea to end its war in Ukraine. Our foreign affairs correspondent Pyeonjae covers this latest comment and more.
As U.S. President Donald Trump seeks to broker an end to the 3-year war in Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin has suggested that countries other than the United States could be involved in the peace process, specifically mentioning North Korea. Speaking about efforts to settle the war during his visit to Russia's northwestern port of Murmansk on Friday, some of the other countries he named were China, India, Brazil, South Africa, and the member states of BRICS. The Russian leader also proposed the idea of putting Ukraine under a form of temporary administration of the United Nations as part of a peace deal, for new elections and the signing of key accords with the aim of reaching a settlement.
We could discuss under the auspices of the UN, with the US, with European countries, and of course with our partners and friends, the possibility of conducting temporary governance in Ukraine.
Putin's comments come a day after a senior Russian diplomat reportedly said they're preparing for Kim Jong-un's visit to the country. According to Russia's TASS news agency, Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Rudenko said Thursday that this was discussed during his visit to Pyongyang 2 weeks ago, without providing details on when the visit might take place. Just last week, Putin's top security advisor Sergei Shoigu met Kim in Pyongyang, where the two sides reaffirmed their willingness to unconditionally uphold a major mutual defense treaty signed last year that pledges mutual assistance if either faces aggression. Eyes are now on whether the North Korean leader's visit to Russia will take place within this year, with some experts even saying that it could happen as early as May, on the 80th anniversary of Russia's Victory Day, which marks the Soviet Union's triumph over Nazi Germany in World War II. 배은지, Arirang News.
Recently declassified documents from 1994 shared the disbelief of North Korean embassies worldwide following the death of then North Korean leader Kim Il-sung. Now, several North Korean diplomatic missions were either unaware of or chose to dismiss as fabrication news of his passing. North Korean staff members at embassies in Germany, Senegal, Vietnam, and Indonesia initially voiced confusion, while some denied the news until Pyongyang's official announcement. America's biggest trade partners, Canada and Mexico, have been among the first to respond to the Trump administration's latest tariff plan of a 25% import duty on foreign-made cars, and their reactions stand poles apart. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Earlier this week, President Donald Trump signed off on 25% tariffs on all cars and auto parts imported into the United States. In response, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney called it a direct attack on his country and vowed to respond to Trump's latest tariff policy.
President Trump announced 25% tariffs against our auto industry. And this is a direct attack, to be clear, a direct attack on the very workers that I stood in front of, uniform workers. We've announced, of course, retaliatory tariffs. We have other options for those retaliatory tariffs. I have asked for a meeting, I will convene rather, a meeting of the Canada-US cabinet tomorrow to discuss our trade options.
Carney said Canada's longtime bilateral relationship with the U.S. involving the economy, security, and military cooperation is over. Instead, he vowed Canada would respond with retaliatory tariffs that will have maximum impact on the U.S. On the other side of the U.S. border, Mexico is negotiating for an exemption for its critical auto industry. Speaking from Washington after holding talks with U.S. officials, Mexico's Economy Minister Marcelo Ebrard said negotiation talks are ongoing to ensure that Mexico gets preferential treatment. The minister said that with the recent tariff policies of the U.S. administration, Mexico must protect jobs and economic activity in the country. While Mexico is seeking a more peaceful approach to Trump's tariff policies, both Canada and the European Union have been looking to fight the U.S. president's tariffs. In response, Trump took to his social media platform Truth Social on Thursday and said that larger tariffs could be placed on the EU and Canada if they work jointly to do economic harm to the USA. While the EU delayed its first set of retaliatory tariffs, including a 50% tariff on U.S. bourbon, Trump threatened to impose a 200% tariff on all wines and other alcoholic products from the EU if the bloc went ahead with tariffs. 이승재, 아리랑 뉴스.
Back here in Korea, some 4,800 flights will head overseas each week from South Korean airports this summer, well beyond pre-pandemic numbers. Now, this is according to the Transport Ministry here on this Friday, having finalized its summer flight timetable. More specifically, come March 30th to October 25th, 4,783 flights will head overseas per week on 246 routes. Now, this marks a 3.6% rise from 2019, before the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Aging is a natural process that cannot be defied, but some believe it can be delayed by eating light and right, as a growing number of young Koreans are choosing to do so. Our Park Gun-woo files this report.
At around midday, people rush to grab their lunch from their favorite spots. What's catching a lot of attention is how many young people are opting for healthier choices. One of their go-to picks? Fresh salads packed with a variety of vegetables and nuts.
I used to eat a lot of high-calorie junk food, which made digestion difficult and affected my studies. Since cutting back, I feel less bloated in the mornings and don't get as tired after meals.
Healthy eating is no longer just a concern for older generations.
I think that your health starts on the inside, and it doesn't matter if your skin looks good. I think it should be a little bit more active starting younger, and then also focus on what you're eating.
The slow aging trend, which focuses on eating certain foods to slow down physical aging, became a boom in South Korea after it went viral on social media last year. And more people from the younger generation are joining in.
Many young people began seeing others on social media embrace a healthier, more vibrant lifestyle that slows down aging, which seemed beneficial and inspiring enough to follow.
As the trend grows, young people are even taking charge of their health by preparing slow-aging diet meals themselves. These meals they prepare involve cutting out simple sugars, refined grains, and unhealthy fats, while focusing on slow-digesting carbs like whole grains and veggies that can also prevent blood sugar spikes. So today I tried making a meal packed with vegetables and fruits like carrots and apples as part of a slow-aging diet. And as it tasted so good, I've also decided to make this kind of meal more often and track my meals as part of a healthy routine. Many are even sharing their slow-aging meals and recipes online, inspiring others to follow suit. However, an expert warns against extreme eating habits.
Health is maintained through a balanced diet. While slow-aging meals are beneficial, they can also become too one-sided. And you need to maintain a balanced diet in the long term, not just for a year or two, before going off track.
She added that occasional cheat days can be necessary for satisfaction, and that she expects the slow-aging trend will evolve through a balanced approach, where combining the slow-aging diet with cheat days creates a harmonious lifestyle. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. The U.S. government has intensified its crackdown on foreign students involved in anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian activities, leading to the revocation of visas and the detention of students. On Thursday local time, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced that the State Department has revoked the visas of over 300 foreign students. The action is part of the Trump administration's broader initiative to identify and expel individuals who are believed to be supportive of Hamas. Rubio told reporters on a visit to Guyana, "Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visas." Among those affected is Rumeysa Öztürk, a 30-year-old Turkish national and PhD student at Tufts University, who was apprehended on Tuesday. The Department of Homeland Security alleges that Öztürk engaged in activities supporting Hamas, though specific evidence has not been disclosed. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said U.S. President Donald Trump's renewed interest in acquiring Greenland was serious. At the International Arctic Forum in Murmansk on Thursday, Putin stated the U.S. had a long-standing interest in the mineral-rich territory. He said that while the Greenland issue does not directly involve Russia, the U.S. plans have old historical origins and aren't just extravagant talks. Meanwhile, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has reiterated that Greenland is not for sale and reaffirmed Denmark's commitment to supporting Greenland's autonomy. Also referring to U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance's planned visit to the U.S. military base in Greenland, she stated the visit is clearly not about what Greenland needs or wants. In Egypt, 6 Russian tourists died on Thursday when a sightseeing submarine sank off the coast of the city of Hurghada. Others have been successfully saved with some sustaining injuries. The vessel named Sinbad was carrying 45 tourists from various countries, including India and Sweden, along with 5 Egyptian crew members. The incident occurred approximately 1,000 meters offshore during a routine underwater tour of the Red Sea's coral reefs, where the recreational submarine dived to depths of 20 to 25 meters to showcase the marine life. The cause of the sinking is still under investigation. Finally, Art Basel Hong Kong 2025 opened to the public on Friday at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center, featuring 240 galleries from 42 countries. An off-site art installation has also been created at a high-end shopping center near the official show venue. The fair showcases a diverse range of artistic practices, including performance and digital art, with over half of the participating galleries originating from the Asia-Pacific region. Art Basel 2025, the largest and most prestigious event in the Asia-Pacific region, will run from March 28th to 30th. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
With cold air coming down from the northwest since last night, the temperature in Seoul this morning was just 3.7 degrees Celsius, which was about 10 degrees lower than yesterday morning. Temperatures will be lower than usual this weekend, with Seoul only rising to 8 degrees during the day. The dry weather warning, which was issued for the east coast of Gyeongsang-buk-do province, has been eased to on advisories, but the dry weather warnings and advisories are still in place in many areas. Also, there are strong winds advisories in place as well, so please take extra precautions to avoid starting any fires. Tomorrow, Seoul, Gwangju, and Gyeongju will start off at 1 degree and Busan at 4 degrees. Highs will move up to around 10 degrees across the country. There's rain or snow forecast for Seoul, eastern parts of Gyeonggi-do province, and western parts of Gangwon-do province tomorrow afternoon. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. We return with our panel session in a few minutes. Do stay with us.